I'm gonna hit the record button. Man, Walt's on another call right now. We had 300 people on that webinar. That's pretty epic. So
That's
he's just
amazing.
finalizing
So
that up.
good.
Roscoe, dude, I am so happy to have you here. And thank you for joining in. Hello, amazing people. Hey, Smiley Kim, I can see you. How you doing? Hey, Clay, Mr. Kendros, Superman. Hey, David. Hey, Rick. Hey, Dave. There's another Dave, Dave Stone. Stacy, Peter. I can't keep up. Wow. Uh, Maceo, what up? And we've got amazing Mel McDonald over here joining us as well. Guys, there's so many names. Hey, Rory, I can't see you, but what's up? Ah, there you are. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Guys, we've got, hey, Peter. We've got an amazing guest today. Roscoe, dude, thank you for jumping in. Guys, I'm so excited to introduce Roscoe to you. He is a champion over here down in Australia for all of our American people. Um, Roscoe, you're going to be teaching us how to clone yourself using AI to get your time back. That is your speciality. I am so excited because, dude, I got to tell you, in the last week, my productivity has been through the roof. I've been all up in chat. I had three AIs going. I had Chat GPT on this screen. I had Manus on this screen. I had another Chat GPT here, and I've been. I was showing Walt, and I was showing my wife. I'm like, I have done like 3 weeks worth of work in 3 days, just with all of this stuff. So, I would love for you to show me how to clone myself, get more time back, and just leverage AI. So, dude, over to you, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, dude. So good to be here, and a couple of familiar faces in the crowd, which is epic. I feel both excited to speak and a little nervous because there's some pros sitting in the crowd. Um, Gang, I'm gonna share my screen here and run you through some magic. Give me 1 second. I'm just hitting the buttons at my end here. You know, the magical Zoom buttons that always disappear the second you're about to present. Those ones. Um, Let me just hit it. There we go. You guys, oh dang, I need to be able to see it too. Can you see it? You can see my screen?
Yes, I can. It says how to clone yourself with AI. I love this.
Rad, we're on. Um, so gang, I want to talk to you about how we can clone ourselves with AI today, and we're gonna get into some detail which you probably haven't been in touch with yet. What I'm not going to be doing is telling you about uh, prompting or giving away your genius or how to replace humans or how to chase shiny tools or speedrun AI. I'm going to focus on the process engineering stuff that's actually going to clone you, like actually going to work for you. So I want to get into the weeds. And I'm also not going to list every tool under the sun. The tools I use that are going to get you wins are pretty simple. If you've got a ChatGPT Plus account and a Google Doc, you can make some pretty decent magic happen. But there'll be a squillion and one tools will happen before the end of this call even today. So I'm not gonna get into that. And Johan and the team have got like epic integrations and stuff for you anyway. So they're the go-to. I also have a little free GPT to help you unpack some of your mastery. So I'll flick you that. For those of you who haven't seen me speak before, hey, I'm Roscoe. This is a slightly fatter AI Roscoe on the screen. But I've traveled to 23 countries, spoken to over 300,000 people. I was a startup founder and in a crypto startup for 7 years. So I was leading a team of 28 people, technical, non-technical, marketers, devs, all sorts of stuff, and had some pretty epic lessons and failures in that. And one of the cool things I got to do that most agency owners probably don't is I got to spend a lot of time doing design thinking, instructional design, and a whole bunch of architecture. A lot of time in the weeds of architecting products. So a little bit of a different background from a bunch of the gang here. But yeah, like I basically I've someone called me this recently. They called me the the ginger Gandalf, and the reason they called me that is because, well, I mean, ginger's like my own form of diversity, but the reason they called me that is because I have this knack of getting people to unpack what they do really well and actually replicate it. That's like the thing that I do most of the time is helping people replicate their mastery, even before this. And to do that, you've got to make some first pancakes. So what do I mean by that? When you're building stuff in AI, you know it's going to pump out some first pancakes to begin with, and you got to have a willingness to do that. You got to have a willingness to like get some of those first drafts out and move quickly through them. So, um, one more thing about me. The reason I'm interested in AI is because I have this super weird dream. I want to build a city in the Australian desert, a solar punk city. I hope that a whole bunch of you will come visit. And to me, the reason why AI is incredible is I get to unpack all these complex things. And rather than feeling super crazy about what I'm doing, I kind of am like stoked that AI is around because now all of us crazy ones who have some cool dreams can do stuff faster and like some weird edgy stuff is becoming possible. So I have this one thing I want to share with you before I get into today's prezo, which is I don't think you keep your dream alive by protecting it from reality. I think you keep it alive by dragging it through reality. And as a lot of you clone yourself, this really stands true that you're going to have to drag all these versions of yourself through this new reality to make it real, to make it juicy. I'm also writing a book. I want to talk about that, but let's get into it. How do you clone yourself with AI as an agency owner? And this is where we've got to look at. So some of the frustrations some of you are probably already having with AI, and I'm keen to hear it in the chat. I'm keen to hear some of the frustrations you gang are already having, but like I think there's a few main ones that I see over and over and over again. These just recurring. One is like heaps of poor output, like getting stuff that's not quite there, like. And I liken it to like collecting plastic bottles, you know? It's a lot of effort for a little return. It's high effort, low return, and it's kind of like for some people it's not the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So this can be very frustrating, especially if you don't know what's happening. Oh, Rory's got two ginger sons. Gingers unite. Yes. That's right. The other one, the big challenge that people have with it, frustration, is that it sounds like AI. And you guys are working with your clients. You don't want to produce client work that's going to make your clients sound like AI. You need to have them sounding them best selves. And so this can be super frustrating, especially if you're getting a squillion and one M dashes and here's the kicker and all these sayings that we know that AI says all the time in every single prompt ever. And then the other concern is like, well, where does the whole IP universe go? And this is just, it's frustrating because no one really has the answer. And I think ideas are ultimately always commodities at the end of the day, but it's just a commodification process. So they start out being worth more and become worth less over time. But specialists still get paid. So here's some mistakes I've seen when people come to creating AIs. First one is, when they go to craft and create things that are really useful for them and their team, they think that time is the same as it used to be. Recently, when I did an event called AI Boss, there was a dude in the audience who told me a story about an AI caller calling 300,000 people at once in 1 minute, generating $300,000 in a minute. And I'm like, I'm like, and it was a low ticket product. It had a low strike rate, all the things, right? But I'm like, we didn't used to think as business owners you could make 300,000 phone calls at once. Like our brain isn't bent into shape for this reality we're walking into yet. Like there's this there's this there's this weird schism of rethinking we've got to do, reimagining we've got to do, where things just aren't the same, to be honest. Another big one, this is a huge mistake I see, especially with super talented people, is they think intuition can't be unpacked. For me, I think intuition, gut instincts, your craft, your magic is just a zip file of your decades of experience, your decades of touch points, your decades of feedback you've had in the marketplace that you get in an instant and you call it intuition or you call it a gut instinct. But I think it's just your body giving it to you in a way that's like, yes, do it this way. So you don't have to suffer the G-force of going through every little distinction you've had before to remember it all. So I think and I've done this thousands of times now, where I sit down with smart operators and I can extract this stuff piece by piece, like get the little bits of magic that live in those zip files. And there's this other mistake is that people think that AI lowers quality. I think most of the gang here probably knows quality in, quality out. You know, it's really a quality game. So it's not true. That's the mistake is AI doesn't lower quality. It's just not true. It's the input that lowers the quality. So there's a few more. I'll just rattle through some quick mistakes because I think these are super useful for you. Sometimes borrowing brilliance and you don't know how to use it. So like there's this trend in the internet in the world, which is go and get all the prompts under the sun. On the whiteboard there, it says what would Chuck Norris do? Everyone has like the best prompt of the week, of the month, of the day, and borrowing someone else's brilliance and hoping it'll magically fix your workflow without ever clarifying or actually slowing down is a huge mistake. Like you want to get into what it is you're actually trying to solve for and really orient yourself to it. So this word orientation for me is huge. It's like we are going from a place to a place whenever we've got a goal. And when you're going from somewhere to somewhere, you need to orient yourself so you can get there the right way. And most people do not orient their prompting, the game in which they play inside a chat. The other thing is too is if you're just trying to outsource stuff to AI and you're just like, hey, handle managing content, blob work, blob thinking, you just don't get great output. And also there's your juniors in your teams and stuff like that as agency owners, you're gonna see people just trusting the first draft and not having a culture of like constantly questioning and editing the output. Uh, Ken, borrowed brilliance, love that. Don't be a second-rate version of someone else, 100%. Totally. This is something actually weird that I share about a bit, but most people don't know this. Every time there's a new technology, everyone is scared of it on some level. So you you might not know this, but when electricity came out, on the front page of the newspaper, there was stories about people being terrified about having lightning installed into the walls of their house. They were terrified about having lightning installed into the walls of their house. And every new technology brings like a new sort of like doomerism around it. Even like the motor vehicle is another one. I don't know if you know this, but the motor vehicle in the UK, in London, they brought out this stupid rule called the red flag rule. And when you drove a motor car, you had to have an engineer with a checklist sitting in the passenger seat. You had to have an engineer sitting in the seat. And that's not even the silly part. The silly part is you had to have a man or woman on foot with a red flag running in front of the car saying there's a dangerous motor vehicle coming because everyone thought motor vehicles were going to kill everyone in the world. And so every time there's new technology, someone's scared of it somewhere. So what are we trying to do here as business owners? We're trying to build like a remote control for our business. We're trying to build this reality we've kind of always dreamed of. We're trying to make exponential probable rather than uh, like than a guessing game. Like we're trying to use these tools to make it like actual, and we're trying to get some mental clarity. Like I mean, we have a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of moving parts in our practices and the ways in which we get what we want. So we want mental and emotional clarity that can come from systemizing things in such a way where we don't have to think about them so much. So here's one of the big ideas that I want to share with you today. If you can't teach AI your best thinking, then you're just automating average. And the practice of unpacking your best thinking is is something I want to talk about with you today because we've been taught in the world that the way you unpack your knowledge is you write an SOP. And an SOP is not going to make your AIs sound like you. An SOP is not going to make an AI behave like you. It's not going to give it the nuanced skills that you have. Um, I don't know if you know this, but like SOPs basically work on reason and logic, step-by-step processes, whereas humans, for the most part, probably I'd say 60 to 70% run on tacit knowledge. And tacit knowledge is gut instincts, intuition, felt senses. I feel like I've got to do it this way. And so when you only unpack the logic and not the tacit knowledge, then you're in a world of trouble. There's a whole bunch of felt sense, intuition type information you've got to get into the system. you think about it like this, if I just give you a quick example, like if we think about a master salesperson who's been a salesperson for like 30 years, right? They no longer follow the process, but they have embodied it completely. And to get all of those little distinctions and edges and knowing when to say the right thing at the right time out of them, it's not going to be an SOP. It's going to be much more of an extraction, right? There's going to be much more happening in that process. So, first things first, documenting your genius isn't extra work. It's how you stop doing the same work twice. Every time you skip this work, you're signing up to do the same problem over and over again forever. Like that's not what you want to do here. And when you find a bottleneck and the bottleneck is you and you don't fix it, then the chaos on loop is just it's pretty much your fault. So how do we fix this? You got to think of yourself as being like the operator in the Matrix, right? You know the dude who trained Neo on Kung Fu, and in that moment he's like he plugs him in and he's like, "Here you go." All of a sudden, I know Kung Fu. Um, what you want to do is you know the moves. You've lived them, you've breathed them, you've embodied them. When it comes to like rolling out something in your agency, say there's a particular strategy you use, a customer onboarding process you use, some sort of high friction, high human task that requires a lot of your decision fatigue. Maybe you're rolling out a strategy. You know the moves, you've lived them, you've gone through them, right? You've breathed every single type of client you might get into that. And your job is to extract that step by step and translate it into clean, loadable format that you can plug into the back of your AI Neo and train it in your particular type of kung fu, right? So in this process, I think people right now don't see the opportunity that's in the middle of the screen. So right now, there's people basically using AI two ways. They're using AI as a support, which is basically just using it as a hammer. Every time I'm on my computer and I am doing a task and I get stuck or I just need a tool, I just whip out Chatty G, my homeboy, and Chatty G comes to save the day and I use it as a hammer. I'm just like, bang, 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 look at me. I can use this hammer anywhere and everywhere. Everything is a nail with Chatty G. And so the next thing is at the other end of the scale, people are trying to do workflows and automations and using make.com and N8N and using all of these fancy automations to try and get AI to replace entire team members. But I think there's this sweet spot in the middle, which is using AI as an appliance. So what do I mean by this? Well, there's super smart operators who would actually already know exactly what this is, but basically it's handing off tasks between the human and the AI for the AI to do sections of the work and humans to do sections of the work, right? And using it like kind of like, and the reason I say as an appliance is it's kind of like the old toaster oven. It's like a kitchen where you got, pull it out of this machine, chuck it into this machine. Okay, now you got a meal. That's the kind of thinking. So quick little share. This is at a recent event I did. I interviewed Joe on stage. It was a demo. And she was the kind of lady who's like, I'm like, what's this? Like, how do you do your content? Because she gets all these clients through her content. Amazing high figure earner. And she's in network marketing, forget that. But the reason why it's interesting is she's like had this process of attracting clients on social media and she didn't know how to unpack it. And so I'm like, okay, Joe, what have you mastered? What is it that you do? And she's like, magnetism. It's like the most abstract, non non-specific thing. She's like, I've mastered magnetism. And she's like, people see the way I live and they feel it, and there's an openness and a confidence and a badassery. There's no BS. And so I got a GPT, which I'll give you this GPT gang. I got a GPT called the Mastery Process Extractor. And basically what it does is she says these answers, and I held my phone in my hand on the stage and I just asked it with voice out loud these questions. I'm like, got it, magnetism, that's powerful. When you say magnetism, do you mean that people are naturally drawn to you and want to buy from you or having to push, or is it something you intentionally do to create this magnetism? So what this GPT does is you say something abstract and top level, like if I say to you, how do you do that piece of design? How do you come up with that piece of creative? And you're like, I don't know, I just do it. this is the perfect tool for that. It's going to ask you lots of little nuanced questions from 17 different angles to help extract and bubble that up and surface it. So she's like, continues to tell her story, and she's like, I just go for a walk on the beach, and I do this stuff, and it's my service, it's my truth, and me as someone who understands designing products, I'm like, holy, how do I turn this into a process map? Like, how do I turn this, like, I go for a walk on the beach, I just feel it, I'm confident. Like, it's difficult, right? Like, it's a bit of a transformational journey that you got to go through. So basically what this bot does is it helps you like zoom in further. It's like, what kind of content are you creating? When you feel the energy just by watching or reading, what's the internal mindset or state that you have? Like, what are you thinking or feeling in that moment? Are you creating like, and she's answering the questions, getting away. And then basically, so this interview went for about 15 minutes. And what we were able to do as a result is figure out a step-by-step process of where she'd do a step and the AI would do a step. So this was just like a verb noun process that was distilled by going through this conversation with her. And she can be in the human lane and the robot can be in the robot lane. And the human lane for her was she just had to capture moments. So her job in this content creating now is to take some photos, capture moments, take screenshots, just make a repository of things happening in her universe. And then she pumps those photos into a GPT, which is designed to see how they could write copywriting hooks based off that input. And then her next step is to share reflections. Now, this isn't reflections about the GPT's work. This is reflections that she's seeing in her client world, types of themes that are showing up, challenges that people are facing, and like all the things that are happening for the clients in the screenshots and stuff like that. And then the GPT she uses is about outlining a through line. And then she writes an intention. So as you can see that in the green lane here, everything she's doing is in her zone. She's the type of person that's doing it. So where this is interesting for you as agency owners is not just thinking about what is the human lane and the AI lane, but also like you could think of this as a client lane and an agency lane and an AI lane. You could put a third lane in here because what you could be doing is you could be sending questions to your client to grab more context in a way they operate without having to try and change them to fit them into your process internally, and actually building little GPTs as bridges between those two worlds. So it really is like training a relay runner to take one stretch of the race off your hands. So it's like, this is the way I like to think about it right now. And let me actually just stop this screen share for a sec and show you, you can still see my web here. So in my chat GPT, you can see here, what this might look like for you is a string of GPTs that do a task. So this is a weekly socials machine. You start with one of the GPTs, and you go through the process and you like just tell it which persona you're creating content for. And then as you get down the chain, you might just be copying and pasting output. Or maybe you have like a delegation briefing or something like that you're doing, and you want to get something off to a team member, and it needs to be really shaped so that it's done really right. The point I'm making here though is that you want to have that relay race type thing happening where you are handing it off between human and AI and getting the person and manufacturing. I call them work zones. It's basically where you have a string of stations where one's human, one's AI, one's human, one's AI, and you're process engineering the work out so that you can do it. For me, I think I shared this with you earlier. Like, I want to build a city in the desert because I'm a weirdo. But for me, like this is my retirement plan, right? I want to be sitting on my balcony with my phone in my hands, playing Farm Life in real life, like Farmville in real life. I want to be sitting there, on my porch. I got my little robots in the yard, and they're all doing the job and slowly like regenerating the land. Um, this is great. And so, what I have to do to make that happen, though, in the reality we live in right now, is I need to process engineer each of these steps. Like planting a plant is a different process to watering a plant, to harvesting, to packaging and getting it ready to move. And so you got to map the moves before you press play. You have to, this is actually the time. this is actually the time to get more excited about process than ever before. And the way in which you do it's pretty simple. I mean, you just look at the different elements, you name the elements, and then you name the process. Like you have different functions. Like even on this screen right here, we have a robot that's harvesting over in the background. We have a robot that's doing Lord knows what with that box. Um, and we have one watering over here. And the difference between growing a pumpkin and a sunflower and the way you manage it, they're all different systems. So in something that's complex, you can turn it into simple systems, simple linear systems. You have to first of all name the parts, and then you have to figure out the process. Uh, Love how good these slides are. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with them. I had a lot of fun with them. And I built a work zone for them. I built like a whole bunch of thinking and then a whole bunch of stuff that goes on from them. So anyway, once you've named the parts, you need to name the process. So like for example, plant, crop, irrigate field, apply fertilizer, harvest crop, wash produce, pack produce, ship goods. And simple labels make scalability more likely, whether you're talking to robots or humans. Like it's a really good rule. Simple scales, complexity fails is like a mantra I love because you can overcomplicate shit and just to make yourself feel important, and it's a nasty trap. Um, oh yeah, gang, if you want that mastery process extractor, you okay if I check that link in the chat, Johan, for people to grab that
Yeah, man.
GPT?
I'll put it in there.
Sweet. What you can skip. There's an opt-in there if you want it, which has a little free training on how to use it and get the best out of it. But you can skip that. There's a button underneath that says, "No thanks, just give me the GPT." So if you don't want to opt in, don't opt in. All good. No skin off my teeth. I don't think that's the same.
All the Americans are thinking, man, these Aussies are weird. Skin off my teeth, dude. I'm gonna stop for 5 seconds. I just want to show them something.
Go for it.
Can you stop sharing, guys?
Yeah.
Rossco is just a brilliant, brilliant man, and Ken Droz, who's here as well. Check it out. This is my ChatGPT on the left-hand side. Look at this. And this is all thanks to Kendros and Rossco. So, and hey, check it out. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? He's right here. Dude, the amount of people I have sent the Rossco to who have come back and gone, man, thank you so much. This has changed my life. Yeah, massive kudos to you. I'm done sharing my screen. Back to you.
Dude, that's a super interesting story. Ken, so good to have you here, dude. Um, yeah, Ken and I were having a chat in a Facebook thread, and I put a question up on Facebook, just like basically saying, one of the most valuable things you can have in this era we're living in is great questions. And yeah, Ken was the one who put the question below of like, what are your questions, Roscoe? And that started a chat thread that became the Roscoe. It was super cool. Here's the man. Hey.
Awesome, man. Hey, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your flow. Keep going, keep going.
No, you're all good. You're all good. I'm good jamming. But yeah, no, Ken has shared that with so many people, and I've literally I keep having people reach out with cool stories. It's very cool. I love it. It was a super cool chat.
All right, back to the presentation.
All right, cool beans. Can do. Let me hit the buttons. Gang, I talk fast, so I'm just gonna keep ripping through this thing. Let me get back to my screen. All right, there we go. Presento Magico. All right. So when you build these systems, when you build these systems, right? What you want to do is you want to have some measures on them. Now, to me, I think ultimately traffic lights are just the coolest little measure. Like we can have all the KPIs in the world, all the systems that help us manage all process. But to me, I think a simple traffic light system, green is it's working. Don't touch it. Just it's going. Leave it alone. Right? Orange is it needs attention at some point in the future. Have a meeting about it next week when you're in a meeting. And red is needs intervention. Needs handling right now. And so like in this system, it's really easy. We can see if there's red on harvest tomatoes. That means we've got to do it right now. Otherwise, we lose the value in that part of the system. And I think this is where we're moving towards as operators and on this journey of operator to owner is we're moving to this world where we can just manage things by our phone remote. And it's going to get to the point, like I imagine 2 to 3 years from now, you're going to literally be able to just like have a Zoom call with your AI team on a beach somewhere, and it's going to be like, boss, why are you calling us? Go away. Everything's working. Stop breaking shit. I imagine that's what we'll train our AIs to tell us at some point in the future. Um, so when you think about your business as a whole, and you think about all these GPTs, how do you run them? So I think of it very much like Taylorism in the 21st century. So Taylorism was scientific management. It was all around that Henry Ford time. It was production line thinking. It was like the industrialization. And what we want to do is we want to industrialize our service-based businesses now because we have the tooling to do so. And so if you think about like your business, if you break it down into whatever your portions are, it might be lead sales, fulfillment for you, whatever you do to name and label these things. You think about these as production lines. Okay, we do this piece of onboarding, we do this task, we do this task, we do this task, and you stack them like a production line. So you've got like a giant factory, which is a service-based factory that's just pumping things out all the way through. And it should just like the destination for you should be traffic lights. You should be able to look at it. So yeah, like if Henry Ford was alive today, I'm pretty sure he'd have us all in little production lines with our AIs and ourselves working on these knowledge work tasks in sections. Like that's the opportunity we have now is we didn't really have the opportunity before. Automation gave us a glimpse of it, but AI makes it plausible to actually process engineer out knowledge work and make it production line. Like some of the hard thinking can be done by someone who's not you now, which is so cool. So yeah, like I said, this journey from operator to owner is this transfer of us going, how do we do things in such a way that we can replicate them and take that mastery out of our head, build it into production lines. The bridge is those production lines for you. It's like, what are the things you're doing over and over again? And here's some questions I think you should ask yourself, which is, what is taking up your time? Like, what is sucking your time out each week? Those are the things. And especially if there's things that are sucking your time out and you think only you can do them, they're the mission critical things to get unpacked. The things that you think only you can do in the business are the things that we've got to get you out of. And the way in which we do that is we get the genius out of your head. So let's talk about that a little bit closer to eye level. So you've been piecing together, you've been playing with AI, you've been finding rhythm in it, you've been sort of like seeing through the fog a bit, building some GPTs, doing some stuff. And now it's starting to click, you can sense something, and you're about to kind of get through it. So before we get into it, I just want to talk about a few frustrations that happen as you kind of get to this tipping point where you're starting to get some momentum and you need to actually really build it. So the first thing is a clone fantasy. Now, this talk's called How to Clone Yourself with AI. And I think the clone fantasy as a frustration is this weird one where it's plausible. So I think we should go with cloning ourselves. However, the fantasy version of it is when you're just wishing for another me rather than doing the work it actually takes to unpack yourself and actually clone yourself, right? The wishing is what makes it fantasy, but you can make it reality. The other thing that's frustrating when it comes to the eye level of actually installing this genius into your business is sometimes it feels more like a guessing game than a system. It's like it's a chocolate wheel at the casino kind of thing. And you're trying to like run the processes and the results vary every time, and you want to trust it, but you can't, and it's frustrating, and it's like, that's what we want to fix. And the blurry work really is it comes from bad handoffs. Like literally, you can make some incredible stuff. I've seen some of the stuff that Ken's built here on the call and some other people on the call. Like there is some incredible, repeatable, like, 99% of the time getting great output kind of stuff out there. And there's loads of it, but it happened from the deep work that it's required to get into it. So the other thing that I've noticed too is, basically a lot of smart operators, like are worried about this like decision fatigue that comes from making all these micro decisions. So when you hand something off to AI. You actually have to face all of the messy thinking in your head that you have around a task you've been doing automatically yourself for ages. And so you have to face all of that to unpack it and to clarify it. And so you're saying that it's going to take too much work or it's too much effort to do this thinking. It's not. You're just like, it's kind of a little bit of an excuse that happens for people. So here's some mistakes when it comes to actually refining these GPTs and down at the eye level, and really engineering some of this work. One of the things is editing the output, not the input. So a lot of people are spending all of their time editing what ChatGPT spits out and puts back in front of them, when actually the real value for you is to edit the input, to edit your prompts, to edit your thinking, or that went into what you're asking for. Like that's where you get like a force multiplier. The other thing is too is when you're testing, and I learned this in tech in startups, when you're testing, you need to start a test and complete a test by going all the way through it. You don't do a test by testing until you hit a roadblock and then trying to solve the roadblock and then going to the next roadblock and solving the next roadblock. That's not how you do testing. You run it all the way through from start through to finish. And the reason for this is a lot of the time is if you run a test on a string of GPTs or prompts or things like this, if you don't run it all the way through, what happens is you're fixing something that it seemed like a precursor when in fact the bottleneck was much deeper in the process. And if you had fixed it later in the process, the start of the process would have worked better. So there's this weird thing where you have to run the test all the way through. And one of the things I see people do, unfortunately, is trying to save minutes and end up wasting hours by just trying to fix these little things. You don't want to fix, you want to master, you want to craft. And yeah, AI doesn't know everything yet. You need to context it to your reality. So I want for you guys to be able to fall in love with mastery again. I think the thing is like a lot of great agency owners got into this because, it's part art, part science. And the artist in you can actually be expressed in the science part of your business. And that's what mastery is when you're creating processes. For me, I think that's where the big win can be. So you need to design your work. And what I mean by this is we really need to get down and see your genius with new eyes. So like that whole, you imagine if this is some weird warped reality game I'm about to play. You imagine if tomorrow you woke up and 5-year-old you is standing beside you and you had to take 5-year-old you through an apprenticeship of life for the next 10 years and teach it 5-year-old you every skill that you had. You'd have to come at it from a way with like a beginner's mind. You'd have to come at the whole thing with seeing it through the kid's eyes so you could express it through those kids' eyes. And the magic that would happen in that would not be that you were just, training this kid that is you. It's also how you would see it based on how you're expressing it to that kid. You would get deeper ability to express what it is you're doing and how you're rocking it. So for me, I think about it like this. So when you're building these things, you're trying to basically unpack a magic trick and make it a recipe. That's what you're trying to do. So like if you have a client process you take clients through, these Zoom video things are always in my damn way. They're so annoying. I need a slide hole for them. I need to redo my slides. To me, you're trying to bottle magic that you have in your agency. Like if your skill is in the copywriting domain, then you're trying to bottle your particular pizzazz. You're trying to take it and you're trying to articulate it in such a way where you can share that with others. And you have to segment it is actually one of the big lessons that you've probably already got from today when I was talking about process engineering these out in separate things. But you need to make each part of your thinking a part of your mechanized process. So when you think of production lines, you think of like cars being made is like the great example through time. And you put the chassis on first so that you can put the other pieces on top, and you put the engine on in one step. You don't put the engine and the wheels on at the same time. You put it on piece by piece. And so when you're trying to clone yourself, you need to think about piece by piece. What are those little pieces of genius that you're operating? Like if you were building a chessboard of yourself and you had to break yourself down into a whole bunch of chess pieces, what are those chess pieces? Like where's your magic live? Um, and and I think when you're doing that, you've got to watch the match. So what does this mean? I would record more of yourself than you've ever recorded before at this time in history. And what do I mean by that? Well, apart from the 75 fathom note takers here in the meeting, welcome. Apart from that, I mean literally in your environment. Like if you're sitting working on your computer and you're not on a call, I'd be hit and go on Loom and just recording a whole bunch of you actually playing the game that you play when you're doing client work. And the reason is like it might look like a mess if you watch that game back, like watching football for the first time. You're like, what the hell is happening here? What was I thinking there? What was I thinking here? What was I trying to achieve there? And after a while, rules become obvious. Like on the non-obvious becomes obvious when you watch the match over and over and over again. And so you need to get enough of that intel to the surface so that you can use it and mechanize it and turn it into some magic. And yeah, I think there's some really cool things there. This is the way I like to think about some of the splitting of these bots. So uh, this is a reminder to get your studio done so recording you is easier. Yeah, totally. um, but I like his game background. I don't like that the blur's on now, right, Joe? Right now, Joe. Um, the the thing for me when it comes to these AIs is you need to get a lot of clarity into this process. If you're building a production line, if you're building literally a very linear system out of your complex reality, you need to have some lenses. You need to go like, right, is this thing crisply defined? Who's this actually for? When and where would I use it? When is the right timing to use it? Like where do each of these pieces fit? And the first thing you're doing is you're unearthing a lot of this stuff. Like I believe that, for me, the overall process I really like to do to make anyone bot fit. And bot fit to me is this like meme of um, unpacking your expertise so that you own it. And so when you unpack it so that you own it, it doesn't necessarily live in ChatGPT. It probably lives in at least a Google Doc or something you download and save and keep for yourself, which is this which is this ability to be able to transfer your knowledge. Because I think we've seen this with every technology revolution on the internet before, is every platform ends up like a walled garden in some way, shape, or form. And so you want to make sure that as you master these processes, you make yourself platform agnostic. Like I use ChatGPT more than anything else right now. I have all the others. I play with them all the time and all the stuff. And as much as I love ChatGPT, I assume that they're going to do something dumb in the future, and I'm going to want to be able to take that and put it somewhere else. So a part of being bot fit is making what's the difference between Rossco and a PT? I make you do the lifting in here, not out here. That's the difference. um, the bot fit is the yeah, you've literally got to have things at like action ready instructions so that you can transport them from AI to AI as these things come out. So yeah, like we talked about it today, verb noun streams, having these three filter check, where does it fit, and this final check, you just got to run through everything. So
Hey, Roscoe,
in
can
Taylorism,
can I interrupt you
oh,
on? I don't want you to move forward before that. I'm being selfish here. How do I
go.
get Botfit? Because I am across all these different platforms, and then one of the biggest things when I got Manus was, oh man, but ChatGPT knows everything about me. How do I get all the stuff from ChatGPT over to Manus? And then I literally went in, and just started copying my old prompts and stuff like that to get it over there. I'm sure that's probably there's more efficient ways. How do I get Botfit? How do I get my stuff across all platforms?
Really by taking the knowledge work that you do and extracting it. Like, so you've got to extract. you've got to extract the decision-making processes you have. So those conversations you've had with ChatGPT, the GPTs you've built in ChatGPT, the type of thinking that you've done, you have to build, a bit of a Bible or resource for yourself of your thinking. Basically have to like it's kind of like it's a bit of a legacy doc. You have to go, right, here's my first principles. Here's the way in which I think. Here's the situationally how I think. Less so like a Bible, more so like a playbook.
Hmm. Is
It's
there a
like
is there a prompt or a GPT that I can use to extract that?
well, that mastery process extractor will help you get individual processes that I gave everyone before.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's individual processes. So that's individual little work streams. As far as your entire body of thinking, no, but it is something I'm working on. It's the thing you have to do before that is you kind of have to you've got to isolate things right now. In our current context, you have to isolate them. The
Mm,
broader picture stuff, I think, is definitely happening. Yeah, assets like brand guides, you're gonna have thinking guides, you're gonna have choice making guides, you're gonna have things that are like brand guides like that, as Kyle was saying in the chat. Yeah,
mm,
you're gonna have um, like in corporate environments, it's decision making handbooks exist. It is those kind of playbooks. Um, but to your point, I do something interesting. I mean, it's a little bit annoying, and I'm a little bit annoyed with ChatGPT at the moment. People have varying degrees of relationship to this, but I had memory turned off the entire time I've been using ChatGPT, and ChatGPT has been sneakily has memory on in the background anyway for all the users. So what I don't like about memory is that it creates bias loops real fast for people using ChatGPT, and it kind of like everyone loves the sound of their own thoughts when it's like, yeah, you're doing great, and ChatGPT acts like a little bit of a cheerleader to your thoughts.
mm,
It's like, yeah, you're so smart, you're so smart, and the problem with that is like my preference is if I could turn all memory off in all AIs, I would, because that would enable a force multiplier for me. It would mean I'm sharpening my mind versus outsourcing my mind.
mm,
And and sharpening your mind is the goal. Sharpening it and getting it documented is the goal, in my opinion. We're going to end up in a territory of sort of like three people in the world, people who aren't using AI to its capacity at all. We're going to end up with the AI people who are outsourcing everything to AI, and they're going to become somewhat mentally flaccid.
mm.
And then you're going to end up with this third class, which are using AI to make themselves mentally sharper, and they're just going to become uber smart real quick. They're going to it's like they've got that matrix machine just going boom boom, learn that, now learn that.
That's the one I want to be. All right, man. Continue because we got 12 minutes.
Cool, dude. I'm pretty close to the end anyway. But this little piece here, I was just going to say, like, when you build one of these like linear processes, what you want to do is walk the line. This is what they did in Taylorism Scientific Manage, is just walk the line, walk every single step of the process, read every single word and every single prompt, read every single word and every single output as you're testing things, and actually just be super present and just take a bunch of notes and really observe the whole thing, because insights come from observations. They don't come from just like magical thinking alone. They come because of all the inputs that you've seen into your brain hole. And so you need to walk the line. You need to actually like read every single word, do every single piece, so you can get the most out of it. So yeah, so for me, I think where to start with this whole conversation that we're having for you gang is start thinking of what's your happy path. So what do I mean by happy path? Well, you probably have one lead source, one conversion tool, one way in which you help customers that makes you more money than anything else. And so what I would do is I would mechanize that line first. And the reason for that is if you can get more amplification with the tools you've got to that, then it's going to give you time back, and then you can go and master another one of the lines. Because I think what people are going to do is they're going to focus on shipping to their weaknesses, using AI to fix their weaknesses. And if you use it to amplify your strengths and then build your strengths in other areas, you're going to be like mighty strong. And so I think amplify your strengths first, and then build strength in another area. is kind of the jam. So yeah, build these things out. This is kind of what I do, the replicating mastery thing. And your genius got you here, but it's also kind of what's holding you back. So if you're the bottleneck in your business, if growth means more stress, more hours, more decisions, you gotta spend the time to get your thinking out of your head. And if you ignore AI, I think that's a dumb decision right now. I think it's a really dumb decision. But even another way to ignore AI that might not be obvious to you, another way to ignore AI is to be blinded by tools and tricks and prompts. That's actually another way to ignore AI is to listen to all the marketers that we know so well because we are them, is to listen to all the marketers about, oh, this new whiz bang thing, this new whiz bang way, this new whiz bang way. That's the maze of that's ignoring AI by focusing on the headlines rather than the depth. So if you really want to get AI smart, you got to go deep. You have to go deep into your thinking. You have to go deep into what it is you're building and how you're doing it in the world and how you're expressing it. So I'll leave you with a couple of thoughts. One is the constraint isn't the problem, it's the path. If you have a bottleneck in your business, that's where the leverage is. I don't think most people know this, but bottlenecks in business, people think like problems must be like fixed or removed or whatever it is. And when I think about bottlenecks, I actually think about rocket engines and rocket engines, like to get a rocket off the ground, to get a SpaceX Falcon off the ground, the nozzle on the spaceship, the nozzle on the spaceship goes out of the fuel system. It goes like this converges down to a point, and then it diverges, and it has this bottleneck in it. And without that bottleneck, you can't get propulsion because you literally need the converging and diverging moment to like build enough pressure to get you off the ground. And your business bottlenecks are the same. You want to turn your bottlenecks into jet engines. You don't want to get rid of them. So you want to figure out how you can get the maximal output through the bottlenecks that you have. Sometimes it's not to fix them. Sometimes they are a fix. Sometimes there's fixes needed, but for the most part, they're opportunities. They're not problems, and they're kind of seen the wrong way. So here's how I think about it. With AI, you can be everything everywhere all at once. You can even be a great speller with this every wing, everywhere all at once. Um, but if you haven't seen that movie, you should see Everything Everywhere All at Once, a little rock meme down the bottom. But I think you can do delightful customer service like you haven't been able to do before. Like I genuinely feel like you can delight customers in so many new ways that have been too high friction or too high expense when it comes to effort before. And we have to rethink what's possible, what's plausible, what's fun, what's expansive again. Like it's actually kind of think it's time to be a bit kooky and have some wild dreams again. I think it's just like it's possible now. So like there's this all this tooling to do cool stuff. So I think it's kind of time to vision what does your agency look like 10 years from now? Like that's a mind-blowing conversation right now. It's actually mind-blowing. So yeah, I think it's a super fun time to be in this whole space, this whole industry. Really, really going to be some wild runs of different tangents that happen, and I think, and I hope that some of you guys are leading some of those like crazy wild tangents.
Man, I just think about where we were 2 years ago, where we are now, how our lives have changed, how our thought patterns have changed, how our decision
Mm.
matrix has changed because of the tools that we have. As I said at the start of this call, I got 3 weeks of work done in 3 hours. That's what it felt like. And it's nuts. I have the biggest smile on my face every day. Um, my business partner, Walt, who's on the call as well, he's like, dude, you are supercharged right now. And it's what a time to be alive. That's what I'm coming down to. And Roscoe, dude, everything that you shared is so epic. Guys, I'm gonna open up the floor. Please, you don't usually get a chance to speak to geniuses like this who are behind the scenes building all these amazing tools that you can use. So feel free to you can raise your hand or put it in the question. There you go. Tim's asking a question. Go for it, Mr. Tim. Oh, hang on. I think I muted you instead of unmuting you. Where'd you go?
That's okay.
Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
So we had a bit of an AI masterclass wrapped into a board game night on Friday, and I learned about perplexity, Manus. Johan says ChatGPT is like your Toyota Corolla you take out every weekend, whereas Manus and perplexity is like your Ferrari on the weekend. So I
Yeah.
guess I've got a couple of questions. One for everybody, which is how do you decide which AI to use? Because we got to use all of them. Because what Johan did was Perplexity did research, then he put it into ChatGPT, and then Manus refined it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first question, and then the selfish one is I'm writing a book with my mentor. We've done 5 podcast interviews to get this structure in this book. How do I then, actually, it's the same question. How do I then use all 3 of those to get the best result for that book? Because Johan's been doing that too. But yeah, how do we use all of them and be bot fit without just chasing shiny objects as well?
Yeah, so I think I love the analogy, and I'm just going to jump straight on the back of the metaphor. You don't want to when you're on your L plates, you don't want to be driving the Ferrari. It's just too expensive if you make mistakes. Same with the credits of things like Manus and all of that. And I think the handling of the Ferrari is good for high stakes situations. And I think the same goes with those tools. Like I actually, for my daily driver, I'd prefer a Corolla than a Ferrari. Like I'm a 6'2" guy getting in and out of that thing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like there's just daily driver fits daily driver kind of situation. So I think that metaphor is already perfect and has the answer in it. Um, and I would actually getting so if you think about the landscape you're driving across, if you're driving across a rally track for the first time, jumping in the Corolla and just doing a slowpoke run through that through that landscape is going to make more sense too. Like before, like going at high speeds in a high speed machine. So I think that's kind of how I think about it generally. Um, I like to do so the kind of like I guess the limitations of the real Roscoe. The limitations of the real Roscoe is I like to play in the we already have the answers lane versus thinking that one of the tools has the answers. So um, that means for me that I'm very late to automate. I want to have it working, and this is a Ken Dro's line. I want to have it working auto manually before automagically. Like I want to like get auto manually working first, like piece by piece. So that's kind of my thinking around that. And sorry, I don't quite understand the question on the second bit about your book. Can you ask that again off the back of that answer?
Yeah, so if we're understanding how to use all of these in different contexts, how do you write something like a book if you've got knowledge in your head and not just use ChatGPT, but use all of them being bot fit to get the
Yeah,
best
right.
result for that bit, the best result. So, like, we put it into ChatGPT 6 months ago, and it started waffling about Star Wars, and it's like, hang on, we're not talking about Star Wars, right? So, yeah, how to get the best result. And Johan's been playing
So,
around with that, but
so I think like writing a book with ChatGPT, I'm just going to talk to it broadly so it lands for everyone. But writing a book with ChatGPT, the way in which you write a good book with ChatGPT is you have to figure out the instructions of how to write a good first line for that specific type of genre book. And then you need to figure out how to write the lead of a paragraph one of of a chapter one of that type of book. And so you got to actually engineer the process itself, like really unpack what is genius in that in moment in time.
Yeah, so I've been doing book writing with this, and literally my prompt for that is 87 pages long, because you have
Yeah.
to do world building, you have to do character building, you have to do the drama, you have to do the scenarios, you have to take it through that. And so yeah, to get to that 87-page document is a lot of work, but then once you do that, then the book writing becomes super easy. So
I
yeah,
don't, I don't feel
uh,
like book writing is quite there yet for ChatGPT because the outputs are too short, right? Like you can't until GPT does have a GPT 4.0 long that it has in beta that it hasn't released yet. But as you get deep into a book that you're trying to get AI to write, it keeps repeating itself. And like you still need to be really human in it and let it be your assistant and not try and get the thing to write your whole book for you. I don't feel like that technology is there. It's kind of the holy grail that everybody's trying to do, but I don't think we have a magical prompt that will write our book for us yet, but of course
Yeah.
we're getting there.
I had to write a long speech the other day, and I found GPT was good to mud map out the sections, but again, it wasn't too long. And then I used Google Gemini to sort of extrapolate that out, and then I just finally went through several prompts and revisions to get it right. But yeah, GPT was only kind of good to get the framework, but I found Gemini was better to extrapolate it out.
Yeah, I think you touched on the bit there that is where my thinking is it's a string of separate thinking to write a book with AI right now. It's a string of separate thinking. Like you could get it to write a great lead paragraph to a chapter one of a nonfiction book. And like you got to go down to that eye line level though right now. So you'd have to have, you know, 601 GPTs to write a book well right now with AI of like this explicit function and this explicit set and setting, you know.
And
Yeah.
Dion said 87 pages, might as well write it yourself. But once you the reason for that is I was trying to systemize it, Dion, and once you've done that, then it's so I ended up getting it done in a day and just being super proud of what was achieved. So it's been something that's been in my head for like 3 years, and I finally in one day was able to achieve that. It's the first draft. It'll get there. Do you want to jump on, Dion, and ask any questions? Otherwise, I know we're 2 minutes over already. Mr. Cam,
Did I have a question? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go.
Oh no, I was about to just write in chat to say it's probably like if you spend as long briefing a staff member or a team member and on how, or a contractor, whatever, on how to do a project as it would take to do it yourself, but then they know how to do the project next time and for all the others. It probably translates like that in terms of that creating that 90-page brief. Half a book.
All right, guys.
Anyway.
I'm going to close it up to respect everybody's time. Roscoe, you have been amazing. Thank you so much. You've
Cheers, gang.
over-delivered, and your slides, dude. That was the best slideshow. My dopamine levels were like, ooh. So thank you for that, and thank you everybody for participating. I hope you got something amazing out of that. Roscoe, can you put that link in again, just for people who've come a bit later?
Yeah, for sure.
They have that. That'll be really cool. And thank you for everybody else for participating. What was the link again, so I can just say it out loud?
I'm just typing it.
Cool. And guys, give Roscoe a big hand. Say thank you in the chat, just so he knows. There we go. Rossco.co/mastery. Thank you, Roscoe. You're amazing.
Thanks, gang.
Looking forward to catching
Cheers.
up. See you, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, legend.